Welcome, friend. I'm James, your host, and today we're diving into another captivating episode. Grab a drink, get comfortable, and get ready for a powerful story that's sure to resonate. If something hits home, share your thoughts in the comments. Let's dive in.
AITA for choosing my sister over my daughter. All right, Reddit, grab your popcorn because this one's a wild ride. I recently wrapped up a messy divorce from my ex-wife, 33F, last year. And honestly, it feels like I'm still living in a soap opera. The days of blissful ignorance feel like a distant memory now, overshadowed by the heavy cloud of betrayal and resentment. My life was once filled with laughter, shared dreams, and plans for the future. Cooking together on weekends, discussing our goals for the family, and even talking about potential vacations we'd take one day. Those days seemed perfect, a fairy tale in which I believed we would always be a happy family. Yet here I am, thrust into a world where trust is shattered and the family I once knew has been replaced by a painful new reality that I am still struggling to accept. I find myself in a constant state of reflection, haunted by memories that should bring joy, but instead serve as reminders of what I lost. Let me take you back to the beginning. My ex had been carrying on an emotional affair with a coworker. Classic betrayal, right? I remember when the truth hit me like a freight train. I was sitting at the dinner table, the aroma of my favorite dish filling the air, when she casually dropped the bomb. "I'm seeing someone else," she said, as if discussing what to have for dinner. It felt surreal, as if I were stuck in a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. Every word she spoke pierced through me, unraveling the fabric of my life. She was so engrossed in her little fantasy that it was like living with a ghost, someone who had replaced my partner with a stranger. Every smile she flashed at me felt hollow, a facade that concealed her true intentions. We had a good life together, or so I thought, until the truth came crashing down like a ton of bricks. After the dust settled, she moved on to her new true love, while I was left to pick up the pieces of our shattered family, grappling with the realization that the woman I once adored was now an enemy in disguise. I remember feeling paralyzed, unable to think or act, lost in a sea of emotions that threatened to drown me. We share a daughter, a bright and sensitive 14-year-old girl who once lit up my world. From the get-go, she was her mother's mini-me, a little girl with big dreams and an infectious laugh that could brighten even the darkest days. I remember the days when she'd run to me for everything, a scraped knee, a bad dream, or just to cuddle up on the couch with popcorn while watching Disney movies. We built forts out of blankets, had dance parties in the living room, and shared secrets in the glow of her nightlight. Those moments were pure magic, a testament to the bond we shared. But after the divorce, it was like someone flipped a switch. Suddenly, I was the enemy, the villain in this tragic story. My daughter, who once craved my attention and affection, turned cold as ice, her warmth replaced by an unyielding loyalty to her mother. I felt like I had lost a part of myself. Every time I tried to connect with her, it was as if I were speaking a foreign language. It was as if she had been brainwashed by her mother's narrative, and I found myself longing for the days when she would light up at the sound of my voice, her face radiant with love and trust. In the months that followed the divorce, I attempted to bridge the growing gap between us. I showered her with gifts, thinking that maybe if I lavished her with things she liked, new sneakers, the latest gaming console, even concert tickets to see her favorite band, she would come around. But my efforts were like pouring water into a black hole. They disappeared without a trace, leaving me feeling even more rejected. Each time I tried to reach out, it felt as if a wall was being built between us, constructed from her anger and betrayal. I remember one evening, excited to show her a new game I had bought, only to find her in her room, headphones on, completely engrossed in whatever was happening in her virtual world. I knocked, but she barely acknowledged me. Her disinterest stung, a constant reminder that I was no longer the center of her universe. Then came the day that shattered what little hope I had left. My daughter, looking at me with a mix of pity and disdain, told me she liked her stepdad more than me. "He's the man Mom deserves," she said, her voice sharp and unwavering. Those words pierced through me like a dagger, embedding themselves deep in my heart. I had never felt such gut-wrenching pain. In that moment, it wasn't just rejection. It was a profound loss of everything I thought we had. It felt as if the ground had crumbled beneath my feet, leaving me teetering on the edge of an emotional abyss. I went home that night, my heart heavy and mind racing. I sat on the edge of my bed, replaying her words over and over in my head. I broke down, a torrent of emotions spilling forth, tears streaming down my face as I mourned the relationship I had once cherished. It was one of those cries that feels like it's ripping you apart from the inside out. I took a couple of days off work, locked myself in my room, and wallowed in my misery. I felt like a ghost in my own life, watching as the world moved on without me. After that emotional roller coaster, I realized I needed to protect myself. I decided to distance myself emotionally and financially from my daughter. I thought, why should I keep fighting for someone who doesn't want me? I figured I'd fulfill my legal obligations until she turned 18 and then slip away into the shadows of her life. It felt like a decision born out of self-preservation, a way to shield myself from the pain of her rejection. I was tired of being the punching bag in this twisted family drama, and as hard as it was to admit, I knew I had to prioritize my own well-being. During this turbulent time, my sister became my rock. She was the only family I had left. Both of our parents had passed away years ago, leaving a void that was impossible to fill. My sister had endured her own hell a few years prior when her husband cheated on her, and it felt like we were both fighting our own battles in a war that seemed never-ending. The scars from her betrayal ran deep, and it was evident in the way she guarded her heart. I often saw her sitting alone, staring out the window, lost in thoughts of a past that haunted her. When she finally opened up about her experience, it felt like a cathartic release for both of us, sharing our fears and frustrations. She came out of that experience a stronger woman, but it left scars that made her wary of love. I cherished our late-night conversations, where we would share our hopes and dreams, building a new bond that helped us both heal. During those dark nights, when the world felt heavy on my shoulders, it was her unwavering support that reminded me I wasn't alone. She became my confidant, my partner in crime, and my only source of solace amid the chaos. As I sank deeper into my own despair, I started shifting my financial focus. I pulled my daughter off all my accounts, making my sister the primary beneficiary. College funds? Gone. I began withdrawing from that money, funneling it into things that made me feel alive again. Travel, experiences, and most importantly, supporting my sister. Each withdrawal felt like a small rebellion against the pain I had endured. I poured my resources into my sister and me, seeking the joy we both desperately needed. To be honest, I felt a surge of guilt, but it quickly faded. My sister earns more than I do, and in this new chapter of my life, I found myself on the receiving end of an avalanche of affection. She would surprise me with thoughtful gifts, new tech gadgets, clothes that made me feel confident, and spontaneous trips to cool places. We even embarked on a 2-week adventure across Europe, where we explored cobblestone streets, savored wine under the stars, and laughed like we were kids again. It was a beautiful escape from the chaos of my life, a chance to reconnect with someone who truly understood me. For the first time in what felt like forever, I felt joy creeping back into my life, each moment a welcome distraction from the heartache I had endured. Now, I sit here wondering if I'm the villain in this story. I know I'm doing the bare minimum, but can you blame me? It's as if I'm standing on a precipice, staring down into the chasm of my daughter's disapproval while clinging to the lifeline that is my sister. I feel like I'm at a crossroads, torn between the love I have for my sister, who's been my lifeline, and the daughter who's turned her back on me. The silence is deafening, and I can't help but wonder how long it will be before my daughter confronts me. I know she's felt the shift. She's always been perceptive, a trait she inherited from both her parents. But she hasn't said anything yet, and that's the kicker. It's almost like she's waiting for the other shoe to drop, for me to say the words that would officially sever our bond. I imagine the day she finally speaks up, her eyes filled with a mix of anger and confusion, demanding answers to questions I'm not sure I'm ready to face. What will I say when she asks me why I chose my sister over her? Will I have the courage to explain how deeply her rejection cut me? How it felt like I was losing a piece of my heart with every dismissive glance? The thought of that confrontation makes my stomach churn, yet I know it's looming on the horizon, a storm I can't avoid forever. Each day that passes brings me closer to that inevitable moment. I notice the subtle changes in her demeanor, how her laughter doesn't reach her eyes anymore, how she avoids my gaze during our obligatory family dinners. I can sense her frustration, the silent accusations hanging in the air like an unspoken truth. She may not voice her feelings, but the distance between us has grown palpable, an invisible wall that neither of us seems willing to dismantle. I often catch her staring out the window, lost in thought, and I wonder if she's thinking about what our family used to be, or if she's plotting her next move in this twisted game of emotional chess we're playing. As the days blend into weeks, I wrestle with the guilt of my choices. I see her at school events or when she comes home from hanging out with friends, and I can't help but feel a pang of sadness for the relationship we once had. The little girl who once looked at me like I was her hero is now a stranger, someone I barely recognize. My heart aches with a longing for those innocent moments when she would run into my arms and I was the center of her universe. Instead, I am now an afterthought, a mere obligation in her life. It's a painful truth I struggle to accept, and yet the thought of opening that door again terrifies me. What if she rejects me again? What if this time it's worse? In my quiet moments, I often reflect on the choices I've made and whether I've truly chosen the right path. Am I a bad father for wanting to prioritize my sister, who has been my lifeline through this dark time? She has been my unwavering support, my confidant, and the only person who truly understands the depth of my pain. Our bond has grown stronger, and I can't help but feel that maybe, just maybe, it's okay to focus on that connection when my relationship with my daughter feels like it's been irreparably damaged. But then I think about my daughter, her dreams, her future, and the years of memories we've built. Am I really ready to walk away from that? The idea of not being there for her, of missing out on her milestones, fills me with dread. What if she grows up and looks back on this time with resentment, feeling abandoned by the one person she needed most? The thought of that future sends chills down my spine, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm losing something precious. As I sit here in the quiet of my room, I find myself at a crossroads, grappling with the emotional turmoil of my situation. I could reach out to her, try to mend our relationship, but what if my attempts are met with hostility? What if she lashes out, blaming me for the fallout of her mother's choices? On the other hand, the thought of leaving things as they are feels like I'm burying my head in the sand, avoiding the hard conversations that need to happen. It's a terrible impasse, and I'm left feeling trapped in a web of my own making. So here I am, sharing my story with all of you, hoping for some clarity. Am I the antagonist in this tale? A father who chose the easy path of emotional detachment rather than fighting for his daughter? Or is it justified to seek comfort and connection with my sister, who has been there for me in my darkest hours? I know my daughter has noticed the shift in my focus, and I can only wonder what's going through her mind. Perhaps one day, I'll find the strength to reach out and bridge the gap between us. But for now, I'm caught in this limbo of guilt, confusion, and a longing for the family I used to know. So, Reddit, AITA for choosing my sister over my daughter. Am I a terrible father for wanting to protect my own heart after feeling so utterly betrayed? Would love to hear your thoughts.